There's something nobody tells you about emotional addiction. It doesn't feel like addiction. It feels like love. It feels like caring deeply. It feels like loyalty. It feels like you're just someone who loves hard, who feels things more than other people, who would do anything for the people you're connected to. And that's exactly what makes it so dangerous. Because addiction, real addiction, doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up with warning labels. It disguises itself as the best parts of you. Your passion, your devotion, your sensitivity. And by the time you realize what's actually happening, you've already built your entire nervous system around another person. That's what emotional addiction actually is, not love. A dependency. Think about the last time something felt off in a relationship. A fight, silence, distance, someone pulling away. What happened in your body? Not your thoughts, your body. For most people who are emotionally addicted, the answer is the same. Chest tightens, stomach drops. A low-grade panic starts spreading under the surface. Suddenly you can't focus. You're checking your phone every 3 minutes. You're replaying the conversation trying to find where it went wrong. You're composing texts and deleting them. You're running worst-case scenarios you know aren't rational but can't stop. That's not love reacting. That's a withdrawal response. And if you've ever felt that, you already know, somewhere in you, that what you're feeling goes beyond normal caring. Because normal caring doesn't hijack your entire system. Normal love doesn't make you feel like you're going to fall apart every time there's a gap. This does. Here's where the dark psychology comes in. Emotional addiction doesn't just happen to certain types of people. It gets built, slowly, systematically. Often starting so early, you don't even have a memory of life before it. The brain, at its core, is a prediction machine. It learns patterns. And one of the patterns it learns very early is this: connection equals safety. When you're a child, that's literally true. You need people to survive. Emotional disconnection isn't just uncomfortable, it's a threat. So the brain treats social rejection the same way it treats physical pain. The same neural pathways light up, the same alarm systems fire. Most people grow out of the acute version of this. They develop what psychologists call object permanence for relationships. The understanding that someone can be out of sight, out of contact, even upset with you, and still exist, still be there, still be safe. But some people don't fully develop that, because at some point in their development, connection was unpredictable, love was inconsistent, safety felt like it had to be earned over and over, so the brain never got the memo that it was allowed to relax, and it keeps living in survival mode inside relationships. This is what emotional addiction looks like from the inside. You feel more alive in the highs and lows of a connection than in the steady quiet of a healthy one. Calm feels boring. Stability feels suspicious. You keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. And sometimes, unconsciously, you create the drama just to get it over with. You find yourself needing constant reassurance, not because you're weak, but because your nervous system genuinely cannot hold the uncertainty. The reassurance works, but only for about 20 minutes. Then the anxiety starts building again. You confuse intensity with intimacy. The more chaotic a connection is, the more real it feels. You've probably stayed in something that was hurting you longer than you should have, because leaving felt more terrifying than staying, not because it was love, because the attachment itself had become the drug. And when it ends, when the connection breaks, it doesn't feel like a breakup. It feels like detox. Now here's the part that most psychology content skips over. Emotional addiction is not random. It has a specific psychological architecture, and at the center of that architecture is something called intermittent reinforcement. Intermittent reinforcement is when reward and withdrawal alternate unpredictably. Sometimes you get warmth, sometimes you get coldness, sometimes you get attention, sometimes you get silence, and there's no clear pattern you can find. And here's what the research shows. That pattern of inconsistency is more addictive than consistent reward. Slot machines work on the same principle. You don't keep pulling the lever because you always win. You keep pulling it because you sometimes win, and you never know when. The uncertainty itself becomes the hook. Now put that inside a relationship. Someone who sometimes makes you feel completely seen and sometimes makes you feel completely invisible. Someone who's warm and then cold, present and then gone. And your brain, desperate to find the pattern, to regain some sense of control, becomes obsessed. Not because they're exceptional, because they're unpredictable. and obsession feels exactly like love from the inside. The darkest truth is this: most people who are emotionally addicted are not addicted to a person, they're addicted to a feeling. The feeling of being chosen, the feeling of being pursued, the relief of reconnection after distance, the hit of being wanted by someone who feels just out of reach. And that means the addiction travels, the relationship ends, and you find someone new who gives you the same emotional texture, the same push and pull, the same highs, the same hollow spaces in between, and it feels like a new beginning, but it's the same loop. Because the pattern is in you, not in them. You are not broken for this, but you do need to understand what's happening, because you cannot fix what you haven't named. So what does the way out actually look like? It's not affirmations. It's not deciding to love yourself more. It's not a list of green flags to look for. It's slower than that. It's more uncomfortable than that. It starts with learning to tolerate the feeling of okay, not thrilling, not devastating, just okay. Because for someone wired this way, okay feels like something's wrong. Okay feels like they don't really care. Okay feels like the beginning of the end. But okay is actually what safety feels like. You've just never been trained to recognize it. It means building a relationship with your own nervous system, learning to notice when you're in activation, when the anxiety is spiking, when the urge to reach out, to fix, to pursue, to collapse is coming from regulation, not from real need. It means letting connections be imperfect without catastrophizing, letting someone be quiet without it meaning something, letting there be distance without filling it immediately. And maybe, most importantly, it means asking yourself an honest question. Am I drawn to this person because of who they are? Or because of how they make me feel? And do I even know the difference? Emotional addiction is one of the most misunderstood things happening in modern relationships, because it walks in wearing the face of love. It speaks in the language of devotion, and it keeps you locked in a cycle that looks, from the outside, like passion, but somewhere inside you, you already know. Passion doesn't leave you emptied out. Love doesn't make you feel like you're disappearing. You're not too much. You're just someone whose nervous system learned to need what it never consistently had. And that can change, but only once you stop calling the addiction by love's name.